Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
So, and if you see the flooring where Veda surrenders, it's black and white checkered tiles. So that was a conscious decision. We were trying to find a place which had a staircase which descends down to a hall with black and white thing. It's Vikram's descent into hell. That was the metaphorical idea we were going for over there.
In a pivotal scene from Vikram Vedha, a seasoned cop who views the world through a black and white prism comes face to face with a quietly clever criminal whose worldview has been shaped by a grey lens. It's one of the more intricately written film scenes in recent memory that combines several cinematic tools and devices with solid refined writing in laying bare the film's core, which, in the words of Pushkar and Gayatri, the filmmaker duo behind the film, is an exploration of black and white vis-a-vis grey. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. But before moving on, an important reminder. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you enjoy the podcast, please do consider supporting the show. Love of Cinema podcast is my labor of love. And with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. If you find value in the conversations on the pod, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You'll find the link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. Coming back to today's episode. I really liked Vikram Vedha, the original 2017 Tamil film, and I equally enjoyed the nicely tinkered and retuned 2022 Hindi version. An episode on Vikram Vedha has been on my mind for a while now, and I was delighted that it finally transpired. Shout out to Sridhar Raghavan, who helped me connect with Pushkar and Gayatri. So thanks again, Sridhar. Pushkar and Gayatri are one of the more exciting storytellers working in Indian cinema today, and it was great fun picking their brains on Vikram Vedha. The duo who made two black comedies prior to Vikram Vedha have also made an equally riveting crime drama series since. In case you haven't watched Soodle, I would recommend that show as well. It streams on Amazon. The show's moody, thrilling, and makes for just good genre storytelling through and through. We did touch momentarily on Soodle on this episode, but primarily, our discussion was around Vikram Vedha. Pushkar and Gayatri shared some fascinating insights, ranging from the characterization of Vikram and Vedha to the ideas and stories behind some of the key scenes from the film. We also talked about their writing process, Ritik's method, and the look and music of the film. We bookended our chat with an interesting round of rapid-fire questions, where I learned that they both are huge science fiction fans. Vikram Vedha Deep Dive with Pushkar and Gayatri. Here goes. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Very good, very good.
Great to have you on the podcast today. And I'm so glad that we're going to get a chance to hear you guys talk about Vikram Vedha. But guys, just to get this conversation started, can you tell us about how you got the idea of placing the legend of Vikram and Vedha in the world of cops and criminals in the first place?
So I guess the whole film, the script started off with an idea of an exploration between what we consider as not black versus white, but black and white versus gray. So that's where the first thought actually came in. And then the Vikramaditya and Betal myth kind of easily fit into that space. So we were actually doing a lot of reading on Indian mythology and stories which we have grown up with and stuff like that. So these two independent obsessions, they've always been obsessed with this idea of the gray in people's thoughts. So
Right.
both of them kind of blended together.
See that, but like lot of pointless conversations, no? So sometimes it kind of goes somewhere. So this was one of those. So then, I mean, we definitely wanted to make something in that area, and I mean, the structure of Vikramaditya Vedha thing. No? So this guy tells a story and then asks a question. So that moral ambiguity, you know, so that kind of actually beautifully blended in this.
And in terms of setting it up between a cop and a gangster, that was actually not the first iteration. We went through a couple of different ideas. We were actually first thinking of setting up in the world of politics. Then a
Business.
big local business. I mean, Tamil Nadu is famous for these giant clothing stores. There are many of them in Tamil Nadu, and these are like massive stores which are run by families. So we thought maybe set it up in one of those kind of big businesses, something which is rooted. Then it actually became about a constable and a thief. But then what was happening is somewhere we needed a hard
visceral, yeah, visceral kind of.
There needed to be something which was visceral. There needed to be a sense of impending violence. That kind of drove us towards the idea of a cop and gangster.
I mean, others are all like, you know, even in politics, it's more speech kind of thing. So this has that physicality to it. I think
Yeah.
that was
Because somewhere, I guess it comes from that idea that our first two films were dark comedies. Both of them were set in Madras, and we had like one philosophy on which both those films were based, and that kind of continues in our other work also. We didn't want Vikram Vedha to become a niche film. So a decision was taken pretty early on in the writing process that we will make this as accessible to the mainstream audience as possible. Because for us, our natural tendency is to make it way and way more niche and make it into something which will they call it a cult film, right? Which means very few people have watched it, but they watched it many, many times. We didn't want to go into that space.
so, and the story as such is kind of complex. You can't just like relax and watch it. No, so you'll have to pay attention. So that you know, so the pitching wise, see the writing wise, the complexity should be there, but pitching wise, how to reach people, you make it a lot more broad based, for better want of word. I mean,
Yeah, accessible. Using certain cinematic tropes. I mean, and that's why it's also pitched in a certain way. The whole introduction of characters and those hero moments and all that. There were very clear choices we had to take. I mean, like, are we going to do a film which is going to be intellectually stimulating but might leave the larger audience cold because it's not emotional enough? Because all those things, I mean, like when you introduce a character or when you give that character a moment of heroism, no, those are visceral connects in the theater. So we wanted to use that, but they should in no way dilute the story idea. And I think that was the endeavor where you can still try to do interesting writing in terms of character development, in terms of how you pitch the philosophy of the film, the theme of the film, but make it in a way which is which reaches down to across, not down, across board rather than anything else. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that first you were thinking about setting this in the world of politics. Because, when I was watching the film, the constant thought that I had in my head was that, hey, this would really play out well in terms of politics and ideologies.
Right.
Because
Right,
it's
right,
because
right.
even the ideology is like an albatross around your neck, just like Vetal. And people do crazy things, because of that. So I was just thinking that. So it's very interesting that you mentioned it. But I get it. Like, in terms of making it, so much widely accessible, like you said, this probably was a better setup. Guys, I just wanted to talk about Vikram's characterization. Very early on in the film, we get this kind of hints, right? During Vikram's first raid, one of the criminals, when caught, begs Vikram to let him go. and he asks him to tell a joke. He doesn't like the joke. So he says that, hey, why don't you tell me another one? And as soon as he starts telling him, bang, he shoots him. Then in the same raid, during the when he's setting up that encounter, and I think he tells Prabhakar that, I'm going to shoot you on the count of three. One, bang.
Mm.
He shoots him. And all these little things, I mean, we get the idea that this is a good guy. We get a glimpse of how Vikram goes about his business, that he's an honest cop, but he's not exactly a straight walker, if you will. He has his way, and most cops are like this. Was this all deliberate part of the characterization, or this was just to
Yeah.
grab the viewer and let's
No, actually, Vikram's character is the character who has the bigger arc in the story. And this comes from a lot of conversations with cops over here in India, especially. So one thing is, this idea of being trigger happy is something which pervades this system. And actually, there are these cops who are lauded for being encounter specialists, and they're the ones with a kill count and stuff like that. Now, from whatever we can imagine, this is not something which sits easy with us. I mean, like, dude, there is a law enforcement officer who takes pride in shooting people. I mean, that should be the last resort. I mean, it is self-defense. That's the only reason
And
why
it's
you
all
shoot.
clothed in righteousness and bravery and what he's doing to clean up the system. So it is packaged very well, but still, I mean,
And that's a
the core
trope
is
which, if you see, is very widely used in India. If you take this film Ab Tak Chappan with Nana Patekar, right? So you had this kind of based on a real life story of this encounter specialist, and those characters have always been glorified as the people who are doing the right thing. They are cleansing the gutters of society, and so we wanted somebody who really believes that he's morally right in doing this. The idea was to set him up in such a way that when you're watching, you are also enjoying the glory of that moment. When he shoots that guy, or the whole encounter which he does, you believe what Vikram is doing is right. And then once we set that up, then we go ahead and deconstruct the whole thing, saying like where the climax leads to is basically a deconstruction of what Vikram has grown up to be, right? So we needed to set it up in such a way that you are not questioning like we would question an Ab Tak Chappan, or one of those films which would glorify the encounter killings, right? When we start watching it, we would be questioning, hey, is this right? Is this right? So we wanted the audience also to be on the same page as Vikram. We needed Vikram to take the viewer along with him through the story. It is not through Veda's eyes that we see the story. It's through Vikram's eyes. So we needed the audience to believe in what Vikram is saying, what Vikram is thinking, Vikram's moral stance, Vikram's idea of that there's no ambiguity. It's either you're a criminal or you're an innocent. He has a very clear distinction between the two. So actually, a lot of the sequences were set up that way. Even the whole thing with his wife, with Priya's character, kind of brings that point. So in our process, what we had thought was Vikram would represent the black and white, Veda would represent the gray. But between this, there's something called a legal system. I mean, there is a framework which we need to follow in any country. And Priya represents that there might be certain things which you consider just, that you have rendered justice, but they might not be legally right. The fact that Veda should have representation and stuff like that. No? So Priya represents that character, that this is what society says that we should be following. And there's a reason for that. Why do we have a constitution? Why do we have rules? Why do we have all those Indian penal code offenses which are listed? It's because there is a community-wide decision that, hey, to live together, we'll follow these rules. And Priya represents that.
And we'll talk more about Vikram and Priya in a bit. But before we move on, just another scene with Vikram, that I always found striking. This is where Simon and Vikram are drinking, and Simon tells him about his kid. And, obviously, Vikram is affected by, Simon's pain. And it results in a buzzkill for him, right? He throws away his drink, we see right afterwards. I find this scene interesting is because there is a little bit of commentary in the film as well about the compensation of cops, right? Because even a well intentioned cop, even an honest cop, will be tempted into doing something not because of his greed, but just out of, love for his family or something like that. And eventually, that's what happens with Simon, right? Who's one of the members of the team. And it's kind of interesting that when Vikram, hears Simon's story, I thought that, maybe, this guy is a smart guy and maybe he's already thinking that, what's going on? This guy needs money. And, is this something that's going to set him off on a wrong path? Was that something that you guys were hinting at in that scene or?
Actually, the hint was towards where it is all going to play out. So, actually, all the cops, right at the beginning of the film, there's the scene where Vikram walks into the
Right.
police station, into the unit office, and in throwaway lines, you kind of realize that every one of these cops has some need. I mean, it
Very
might be
mundane stuff. I mean, very regular stuff.
Yeah.
Like one guy wants a bike, another one
Right.
he's just getting a system added. Like all like very very normal stuff.
But the scene hints at that. But more importantly, the scene was written for the relationship which exists between Simon and in the Hindi version Abbas, uh, their character and Vikram's character. That it is not just a friendship which is born out of being colleagues. It is something way more than that. Something which has a history, and that there is there's an issue which Abbas slash Simon is going through, which is something which Vikram empathizes with. And it also, our subtext on that, uh, Vikram is blind in a lot of ways.
See,
He's not,
Veda calls him out for that. I mean, like, why didn't Simon come to me? Why didn't he ask me for money? So it says like your righteousness is too thing. I mean, so he can't open up to you with that money aspect.
so even when Simon is telling him this, that the son is going through all this, Vikram sees it from a standpoint, but he's not actually what do you say, perceptive enough to understand that this could tip people into doing things which are not right. Because, see, the way all of us look at people, no, we judge people from our pedestal, saying like, hey, if I was in your position, I would do this. Is that the right way to look at people? For Vikram, it is. For Veda, it is just the opposite, where he says, like, you need to look at people from where they are, who they are, and not from your point of where you stand. So that was a crucial scene for us where we are hinting that Vikram sees the world really well. I mean, he can understand who is right, who is wrong. But this is an understanding which is born out of a certain life experience, which all kind of contributes to this idea that, hey, I know people. Nobody knows people unless you try to actually understand what they're going through. You step into their shoes and see the world from their shoes, right? Vikram is not one of those guys. He can never step into somebody else's shoe and see it. And this is the deconstruction of the character which happens over the stories which Veda says.
Then there are a couple of more scenes. Both of these scenes are interesting for me because, I saw them as a certain nod to a couple of scenes from classics. I don't know if they are, and but I'll mention these two scenes, and they're great scenes just by on their own. But there's that scene with the kid, whose dad was killed by Vikram in the raid, and Vikram goes and meets him. And the kid and Vikram share something interesting. They both have been victims of physical abuse at the hands of their fathers. And then suddenly the kid breaks a bottle and tries to stab Vikram with it in an act of revenge and rage. But Vikram grabs him just in time, makes him lose the bottle, and holds him tightly. He asks the other cop to lower his gun and kind of de escalates the whole situation. I don't know why, but when I first saw the film, like the very first time I saw this scene, the scene that came to my mind is that Namaste, Mera Baba Mar Gaya from Nayakan. Well, Kerker's son does something similar, and Kamal Hassan goes through that whole range of emotions there, that, what has he done and does the kid deserve that and so forth. Two very different scenarios, but perhaps similar emotions at play. And also perhaps the background music in this scene is very Raja-esque, the strings in the background. So, I thought, okay, maybe this is a nod to that scene. I don't know.
Actually, the scene was more inspired from
Actually, from a real life thing.
itself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, something which we saw
So
was pretty visceral.
I studied in New Orleans and Gayatri studied in Northwestern.
Okay.
So Gayatri had come down to New Orleans for like a summer vacation
Yeah.
or one of those things. So me and her were
Petrol
at
station.
one of those petrol stations. We were actually buying something. We didn't have a car or anything like that, but we were buying some ice creams or chocolates or cigarettes or something like that. And there was this African American father and daughter who were also at the shop. They were just stepping out of the shop. And suddenly there were like some 4, 5 squad cars which descended on that place. Cops jumped out with guns drawn. They pulled the guy and slammed him against the hood of the car and they were handcuffing him. And the little girl was screaming and trying to run to her dad. One lady cop, she went on her knees and just grabbed her and was hugging the little girl and trying to tell her that it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Because when we were standing there, we were seeing this
Like
the arrest of that guy.
The kid, no?
Yeah, like a little kid, 8-year-old kid. And we just thought what the cop did at that point, was very gracious. We don't know what the background is. Why was that person being arrested? He was not from the area we were living in. So I don't know that person. But just this incident just stayed in our heads where a police action of an arrest or something like that, when it happens in front of the kid, or when the kid sees it, the repercussions are huge. So are cops trained to handle this? Are cops sensitive enough to know what the kid would go through? We saw that lady cop do that.
I mean, it was instinctual. It's not like protocol or anything. She just had that protective thing, and that actually comforted the child also. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we were there through the whole thing, and the kid stopped screaming and trying to run towards her dad, and they took the man away. And actually, we don't know what happened after that, but just that moment stayed with us. So that idea of a cop comforting a kid, kind of. We've been wanting to use it in a film for a very long time. And when we were writing this, it was like, hey, you remember that? That's what Vikram needs to be doing.
Actually, now that I think of it, one little bit of that inspiration is there in Sural 2 also.
Yeah.
That scene is like, it is like, it happened probably 20 years back. It's still there in our head.
Yeah, in 2002, I guess. So that I mean, when we talk about it, we can actually visualize the scene so well. I mean, I can still see the red and blue flashes of the cop cars falling on the windows of the grocery store, and we were
Suddeness of it all, and how it terrifies a kid.
Yeah, so that's where it came from. But this is nice. I mean, a correlation to Nayagan.
Maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
He's a big Ilayaraja fan. So.
Incidentally, and recently, Maniratnam mentioned it as his favorite moment from Naikan. That this scene, when I think it was in an interview with Rangan, if I'm not mistaken, but that was interesting too. And but in this scene, guys, the fact that Vikram has also suffered physical abuse at the hands of his father. What are we doing with that here? I mean, is it obviously? I mean, that has shaped him the way that he has, and so there is a certain amount of empathy for this kid. But what else is going on there?
Actually, that worldview that there is a certain right and there is wrong, that comes from his dad. I mean, somewhere. So he's been conditioned that way. He's been brought up that way. Okay, there's nothing in between. This is right and wrong. So you be right. So that like, when you're a child and you're exposed to that, that leaves that one huge impression on him, and he's made the best positive impact out of it. I mean, he's become a righteous cop. That's all he could become. But then Veda comes and questions that, and that kind of breaks him down. But I think
So
people who
this
grow up with, like, very clear set of like right and wrong, somewhere that needs to be embedded from your words.
actually that scene is also part of a certain character thing which Veda also calls him out on. So Veda knows what Vikram did for Muni's kid. So after the scene, he goes and enrolls him in a boys' school, so the kid can study more. And then he tells that the young cop character that if you just not do anything about this, then this guy could become a criminal. So his worldview is that, like, the son of a cop becomes a cop, or the son of a criminal becomes a criminal. But we need to do what we need to do to set this right. So in a way, Vikram has a certain inkling of a liberal idea, but he's still caught up within this thing that see, he grew up in a certain way where he was defined what is right and wrong, and he has to just follow that. I mean, like, if you do something wrong, you're punished. What is that wrong is never questioned. It's just something which you say is understood. Like, this is wrong. Stealing is wrong. Yes. So you will get punished for it. And he knows that people who grow in certain circumstances have more a chance of becoming a criminal. Now, is this something which is true? Which is what is foisted by Veda's younger brother. So Veda's younger brother grows in the same kind of situation which Veda grows up in, but he turns out to be a good guy. I mean, he turns out to be somebody who is not filled with any kind of bloodlust, or is not leaning towards a criminal life at all. So this is the difference in worldview of Vikram and Veda. So all those things contribute to that idea of you set it up so that, and actually, if you see, these are uh, two aspects of how we look at the society also. Especially, we did a lot of research on what has been written about criminal behavior over the past 100 years. So if you see, sometime back, it was that, yeah, people who grow in certain circumstances will end up following that. It seems to ring true that you grow up in a family which is heavily criminally bent, and you kind of think that there's nothing wrong with it, and you grow up that way and you become a criminal. Now, this was uh, the policy which has been, I mean, policies have been created based on this, trying to wean kids away from criminal backgrounds by starting sports clubs and putting their energies in some places and stuff like that. But there is also another thought which has developed over the past 50, 60 years, saying, like, this is not necessarily the only truth.
It's
That
highly prejudiced. No, you start with thinking a person, he has to grow up this way. So in a way, it's like actually cruel.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, like, this seems like a reflection of. I don't know if you've heard of this. There was something called the Criminal Tribes Act in India during the British Raj. So whole tribes were deemed as criminal. So if you are just a member of that tribe, you'd be deemed a criminal, and you would be arrested, and you would be carted away. They were sent to penal colonies. So then it became an act as such, where certain tribes were scheduled. So that's where the idea of scheduled tribes, scheduled caste comes in. They were scheduled as criminals. Then after independence, that was taken away. I mean, in 1952, that went away. But in 1958, there was another rule which came up called the Known Offenders Act. So basically, you have a list of people who are considered known offenders. So if there's any problem anywhere, you pick them up and you question them. And eventually, this became just a watered down version of what the Criminal Tribes Act was. And if you see, in most places in the world, this holds true, where communities are branded as criminals. In Madras, as such, there is this idea that certain areas of Madras are criminal. Now, people like Pa Ranjit have been making films to prove that that people here are not like that. There's just a misrepresentation by society. Ours is just a small speck in that idea that hey, look at a person for what he is, not from where he comes, what is his family, and stuff like that. Uh, Vikram's idea, I wouldn't say is wrong, but he doesn't realize that there's another way of looking at the world. That's where this comes from.
And one more scene that, again, I don't know if this nods to a classic, but this is like a very classic gangster movie scene where Veda wins, Cheta's respect by volunteering to secure his contraband consignment. Very similar to what a lot of movies do this, but very similar to this one particular popular scene from Vijay winning over, Davar's respect in Diwar, where he volunteers to capture the gold consignment from Samant. So, which is a very famous sequence from the film. Is
Or
this?
even Nayagan's in
Yeah, yeah.
Nayagan, where Kamal brings the thing home by tying it with salt and throwing it
Yeah, 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 yeah,
overboard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole bit
So
from
yeah,
Once
I mean,
Upon a
like
Time in America.
this,
Yeah.
I think is one of those scenes which needs to exist in every gangster drama.
Oh,
What
yeah.
does he do smartly, which gains him the acceptance kinds? So
Right.
I think it's not one inspiration. There are many like this. I mean, like where
I mean,
hey,
how do you show someone getting ahead?
yeah. How do
And
you
more than the rest.
like there was this film Pudupete with Dhanush, which came out in mid 2000. In that, the idea was to show him becoming a gangster. Right, was by his first kill. So I mean, there are many versions of how a gangster rises up the ladder. Right. So I guess this would be an inspiration
One of
from
those.
all those.
Yes, yes. And so that brings us to Veda. And, I want to talk about the power dynamic, and the power balance between Veda and Vikram. And I love how, this is consistent with the mythic legend, so when Veda walks into the police precinct, while the force is preparing for a raid on him, he's always a step ahead. Vikram and his team are always chasing right from the get go. It's very consistent with the legend, like I said, because even in the story, it's Vetal who is always calling the shots, right? He's the one who is telling Vikram, what to do. The whole game is being played on his terms. Now, just to set this up for the listeners, so what happens in Veda's entry is that after walking in, just past the metal detector, Veda pulls out a gun, then he drops it, and then he gets down on his knees, puts up his hands in surrender. But even then, the power balance is such that, he is the one that has the police force and Vikram bamboozled. The power balance is such that even during his surrender, it's tilted in his favor, not the police. Like I said, this is again very consistent with the whole, myth of Vetal.
In the legend, in the stories, right? So, and we show this in the title sequence of the film also. King Vikramaditya has to go to a certain place in search of a Vetal, and Vetal jumps onto his back. It is not like Vikram went and captured the Vetalam and brought him.
Right.
When he's there, Vedalam jumps on his back and then asks him the question, "Oru kada solta sir, shall I tell you a story?" So that's from the legend. So the power play always is that Veda has a story to say, and at the end of the story, there is a question. And if Vikram gives the wrong answer, I mean, if Vikram doesn't answer, his head will explode. If Vikram gives the wrong answer, his head will explode. But if Vikram answers it right, Veda will disappear. So that's the structure which has been followed. So every time Veda asks a question and Vikram has the right answer for it. And as soon as the answer comes, the first time he's taken out on bail, the second time is an actual escape, and third time is the metaphorical opening up of Vikram. So in all these cases, so even in the second, when the second story starts and when the third story starts, you would see that Vikram seemingly thinks he has things under his control. He literally has, in the second story, beginning, has Veda down on a gunpoint. Uh, but you know that Veda is not done. Veda has a story to say, and that's going to shift the story. I mean, shift the power equation around. So, in essence, Veda has always been the one playing. He's laying out the rules of the game, and Vikram is playing along on that. But the point is, why is Veda doing? If he knows everything, why is he even playing with Vikram? Because there's something which he needs from Vikram. There is something which he can't see. So this was the conceit we were working on. That a person who looks at it in black and white is blind to certain things. But a person who sees it in gray is also blind to certain things. Okay. And this comes from our personal experience also. And we try to believe that we look at the world in gray. But what happens is there'll be this friend of ours who's actually very judgmental about a lot of stuff, and she will be able to decipher the situation that easily. Yeah, it's because of this, and it'll turn out to be true. And while we be thinking like
you keep
maybe not. So somewhere there is something to be learned from both directions. Veda needs that piece of information which only Vikram can crack. And that is why the game is being played. It is not just for the deconstruction of Vikram. There's a tangible want which Veda has in this.
Actually, during shooting, so just to get the power dynamics right now, so we wanted Vikram to ascend down the stairs with his team, kind of thing. So that became a big hassle. I mean, so Madras, I mean, for the Tamil version, we could find one location. I think the Hindi version, that was the toughest thing. I mean, we just went around in circles, but we needed that level difference. Like Vikram has to come down to Veda's level, kind of thing.
And if you see the flooring where Veda surrenders, it's black and white checkered tiles. So that was a conscious decision. We were trying to find a place which had a staircase which descends down to a hall with black and white thing. It's Vikram's descent into hell. That was the metaphorical idea we were going for over there.
So those two sequences where the Hindi one and the Tamil one, they were not shot in the same place?
No. The Hindi one, we actually constructed a set.
Okay.
The one which we shot in Tamil was like a really small place. I mean, it's not large at all. We just managed to cheat it and make it look large. For the Hindi version, we actually constructed a set which was big, because
we went around in circles looking for that location. So finally,
we actually found one location in Bombay, but then we couldn't get permission to shoot in that location. So then we said, okay, let's build a set.
I see. Okay. And then this sequence, leads to probably, one of the most popular scenes from the film, which is the interrogation scene. And again, this scene is like, there is so much power play. And, Pushkar, you hinted at this. The whole thing about this sequence is that Veda is there in the first place to find out, who was leading that mission, right? Because he wants to know, who is responsible for his brother's death. And we don't know that till then, because then that slowly unfolds. But I love this scene. And, of course, this is one of the popular scenes from the film. There is that one shot in this scene, where Veda looks into the camera when the interrogation is, happening. And he knows exactly, what's going on. He knows exactly, who he should be talking to, because he doesn't open his mouth till the right person shows up. He knows the game. He knows it very well. And like we said, he also happens to be the better player. And all of that, comes across in this scene. I'm guessing that you guys really worked hard on this particular scene because, this is probably the key scene in the film.
So,
fighting wise, also many versions.
I can imagine, yeah.
And I think one thing which was very interesting for us, and actually, so Maddie and Vijay, that was the first time they were meeting. That's the first day of their shoot. So we didn't have any rehearsals or reading with them. So it is like straight come and like just pitting against each other. I think that was super interesting.
Yeah. For the Tamil version, we thought we could shoot the whole thing in a day. It went on for 2 days. For the Hindi version, we shot that over 3-4 days or something like that. Because there's a lot happening in that scene in terms of camera movement and getting the positions right. And if you see, there's also a vertical movement of the camera, which will kind of define where the power dynamics is in for that stretch of the dialogue. So is it slightly looking down on Vikram? Is it slightly looking up at Veda, or the other way around? So, the actors also had to hit that mark, because all this is in movement. Like, it'll move from eye level to slightly above eye level to slightly below eye level. And yeah, it was kind of complicated to shoot. But this was a scene which we really, really enjoyed when we were writing it, because it was a power play which there's this iconic scene from Batman, right? The Batman Joker scene. Now, that, I think, was that thing where he said, like, hey, we need to do something which kind of encapsulates that idea, that power shift between Batman and Joker. That power shift had to happen over here. So we went through multiple drafts. In fact, I think that was the scene which we wrote and rewrote and rewrote over and
Need to
over
have
again.
that fun and snarkiness also. It can't be just like a very serious kind of thing. It needs to have that. There is one level of flirting and one play between them. So that needs to come up.
And this was also for the actors, the scene in which they get into the present story of the character. So when we were shooting, also we had shot Veda's past stories before we landed on this scene, which was a combination between Vikram and Veda. So Veda's character also kind of grows along with this and reaches that point, and that's how we had scheduled it during shoot. Though in the film it plays out, this is what you first see, and then you go into a flashback kind of thing. But in our heads, for Veda to reach this point, he should know what he has traveled through to come over here. So we scheduled all the first story, the second story, the third story, and then this thing in shooting also. Yeah, it was one of those things where even our TOP got majorly invested into it. For, I mean, like, simple things like, what is that shade of gray which has to be seen? And we had long discussions
I
on
love
that.
that. Yeah.
And
I think that first day for Maddie and Vijay to meet, that was also so inherently they are like extremely good people, extremely good at their work, but their personalities are also really different. And they both take pride in their performance. So they were also actually competing against each other. I think that dynamics was actually pretty fun.
And I think the same with Ritik and Saif also.
There,
Saif was actually very, very nervous before we went into shoot that scene. We had shot with him before. We had shot some other portions with him. But before this, he was actually very nervous, because this was the scene which is going to throw both of them together. And then we turn around and realize that Ritik is also nervous. I mean, about doing the scene, because both of them have great respect for each other as an actor. Their processes are very, very different. Ritik is very method, and Saif is very instinctual. And it was the other way around with the Tamil version. Maddie is the one who is more method, and Vijay is very, very instinctual. So it for us personally, seeing both of that happen, seeing Maddie and Vijay go against each other versus Ritik and Saif go against each other, no, that was interesting for us. So
Right.
during the shoot, we were we when we were talking, we were just comparing that, like, how that process happened and how this process happened.
actually, it'll be usually, I mean, Ritik or Saif asking for more retakes. No, because their actors were like pretty good at their jobs, no? So that competition is also there, no? So it is like pretty fun to work in such situations.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, since you had so many drafts and redrafts of this scene, was there any version of the scene which was drastically different than the final cut?
Not majorly, but I think it was more about paring down lines so that you convey stuff in the briefest of ways. So getting that brevity was where the biggest challenge was. In fact, our first draft, I think the scene would have been like some 15, 20 minutes long or something like that. And then it was about, because there's so much to say in that scene, but how do you say that without it being articulated as dialogue? So there are moments in that, like, so there's this thing of, he moves those paper cups around to illustrate that idea of that line, right? So that took us a little while to how do you show it within that setting? It's going to be just two guys sitting at a table. How do you say this abstract concept of there being a thin line between this side and that side, right? Between Veda's side and Vikram's side. So that idea of that the table will have a crack happened because when we were working, we were near a table, and we realized that the planks which join make the surface of the table had slightly let go, and a crack had developed, and it was like, fuck, this is what we need.
That's why I should work with wooden tables. Not-
Serendipity.
Because
Yeah.
that took a little time for us to crack. How do you show this? I mean, it's not like you can go onto a board and draw a line or just say like a thin line or something like that. We wanted something which was physical. And finally, it happened because, like, hey, we were sitting at a wooden table which had a natural crack down the center.
She then kind of followed it through. So in that forest scene, that wooden that fallen tree will be the line, and then later also those markings on the factory floor will be the line. So that then became a thing pattern.
And one scene that a lot of people told me on Twitter to ask you about, ask you guys about it, is the scene where Veda recommends Cheta his way of eating paratha and meat. so we got to talk about that scene.
Actually, yeah, that. So, Manikandan, who plays the young cock in the Tamil version, he came on board to do one last polish of the dialogues. We wanted a certain accent in and stuff like that. So, this idea of eating that parota was something which we had put into that thing. I mean, like that Veda will tell Cheta how to eat the parota kinds. So, Mani kind of built on that to bring that idea of you dip it 3 times and
Vijay Sethupathi also.
then Vijay just got into that and like made that into a performance piece as such. So the flack which we received for that was incredible. Huh? I mean, like you wouldn't. I mean, how can a Tamil guy teach a Kerala guy to eat parota? I mean, that was like a no-no. No, it was unjust, but I think that was fascinating. That
Actually, a lot of kids started eating parota, which is not a good thing, I guess.
we whenever we go to a place which serves parota, somebody or the other would come up and ask, "Are you guys eating it that way?"
No, another thing is like, see that bond between them. No, we don't have too much time to establish. How they became like. How he started trusting him and how he started. So there needs to be these little moments which kind of click. So these are like shortcuts to kind of establish that they have a relationship. So that shortcut, no, I think food is a very food and drinks are all like very things which make people bond easily. So yeah, it's basically a shortcut.
Yeah, and those kind of scenes easily connect with everybody.
Yeah.
My favorite scene from the film is the one where Veda and Vikram are in the car. Vikram is driving and Veda in the handcuffs on the back seat. He leans forward from the back, opens up one eye. He comes very close to Vikram's neck. And again, he's the one who's in the handcuffs. But metaphorically, he's also that albatross around Vikram's neck. And then when he really comes close to Vikram's neck, I saw that as the allegory is fully conspicuous now, that this guy is really sitting on around his neck. And that's why I love that scene, where he asks him for a smoke and all that. Can you talk a little bit about that scene?
Yeah, actually, so we wanted to bring this imagery of the Vedalam sitting on Vikram's neck. So in an early draft, we didn't have Veda surrendering. What we had was Vikram will go on an operation to catch Veda. They would have got information that Veda is somewhere. And when he bursts into that place, Veda jumps from the roof onto Vikram's neck. So that was the initial idea of that first representation of Veda landing on Vikram's neck. But then over the drafts, we realized that that was too literal. But that idea of
having that idea of Veda around Vikram's neck had to be there somewhere. So it is there in two places actually. This one, and then in the climax when Veda saves Vikram, right? He jumps on to Vikram to deflect the bullet, right? So no, that's a little corny. I mean, like when somebody's shooting, somebody jumps and saves that. It was a little corny, but we wanted that imagery of the Vedalam being around. Huh? In the forest also. Like, so if you see,
Oh, that's
at
right.
the
Yeah,
end of-
right after this scene. Right.
right after the story completes and when Veda escapes, you see that Veda is actually holding him from the back. So this was that image which connects it to the. So that image, no, is actually something which is ingrained in popular culture in India. Of this the wispy ghost kind of thing hanging on to a king
I think it's
carrying a
because of
sword.
those
Comic.
TV series also, which came in whatever Doordarshan and later some.
So it's one of those images which has an instant connect. So how do we show different versions of that to connect back with the story? So that's where it came from.
And guys, when you're working together as a team, how does the man-woman perspective play out in the writing? Like, especially when you're writing for characters that are in a man-woman relationship, because some of the most interesting moments in this film are the moments between Vikram and Priya and Pulli and Chandra.
Actually, I think between us, that like, see, I don't think we generally believe that men are from Mars and women are from Venus kind of thing. I mean, we're just individuals. So I think that thing over the years actually has rubbed off. I mean, completely. I don't think we.
I think
But,
both of us write very similarly. I mean, we like left to ourselves, we'll in fact write kind of the same draft only. I think. But yeah, I mean, it's not like one of us writes these strong male characters and one of us writes the strong female characters. It's usually like in our series also, Sural has many strong women characters. So those are some things which we both write. I mean, it's part of the overall
Yeah.
working relationship which we have.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, like he's the most liberal guy I know. And we have very similar worldview as such. So I don't think that specifically comes from.
Yeah.
Right. And like you guys said, I mean, since you guys have been working together for such a long time that you start thinking like each other, which brings me to the next question. Like, how do you guys approach division of work? Like, do you guys just like write different scenes and then put your heads together on all the scenes together?
No, it's actually way more organic. So we are actually very structured writers in the sense that not disciplined. Structured, I mean that we try to have the bones in place before putting the flesh on top of it. So till that actually clicks in our head, we won't be able to write.
Thing is, if you get too attached to a scene, then you try to fix your story according to the scene. So we kind of get the skeleton right, like get that base story right, and then only start fleshing.
So most of our process is me and Gayatri sitting and talking about the broader beats of the story. So there is that structure which needs to form into place. What's our first act? How is it moving from first act to second act? What is our midpoint? And how is the second act going to end and lead up to the third act? What propels the third act? Things like that. I mean, what is the plot engine? What is the character, the driving force? These are things which we need to kind of figure out before we start writing the script as such. So we go through multiple things. So the first step is we do like a 2 to 5 page outline of the story. Now, as we are writing that, it becomes like a 15 page or 20 page or 25 page kind of thing. And for a series, it is like 15 page per episode. So this is our outline, which will have each and every
pretty detailed treatment.
Yeah, very treatment would be the right word. But to reach this spot is some where we need to kind of, in our heads at least, figure out where it's all heading. So, I mean, we are not those writers where we can start from the first page and end at the last page kind of thing. No, we need to know where it is going to end. And that keeps changing things during the structure. The script which we were working on till recently, it finally cracked and we are ready to start our next film. But for a very long time, it was we didn't know what the climax is going to be. We had 4, 5 options, but none of them were working. And then we landed on an idea which really works for both of us. And so that has informed how it needs to land up to that place. So you write back from that point. So with Vikram Vedha, a, a lot of the writing was also back informed from what the climax is going to be. So to reach this point, what is the deconstruction which needs to happen to
We
Vikram?
did like a whole bunch of, actually, the initial version, the stories were supposed to be played by other actors. That was the earliest version.
Yeah.
They were just stories. So, with, other actors, like just who is doing cameo kind of thing. So,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
So it's like a reenactment of what happened with Veda.
No,
or something.
the
Not even
stories itself are
connected
very
to
different.
Veda's story.
They
Oh,
were
okay.
not stories
Got
from
it, got it.
Veda's lives. Like Veda would have heard the story about a person in his neighborhood,
Okay.
and it would be that story. So the protagonist of that story would be some other character.
Okay.
So like we went through 3, 4 drafts of that, and then realized like, dude, Veda. Now Veda's character was coming out really well. That we will
Why
need
are
to
we-
see a lot more of Veda. I mean, like if 30% of the film is going to be filled with
Right.
other characters, and that too not all the same, like then somewhere we are losing out on Veda's essence.
I think for us, writing wise, which story to tell, no? That decision, I think, is the hardest. Because sometimes we end up writing a whole script and then maybe this is not the right time to go with
Yeah,
that script.
recently we were doing some digital cleaning, checking out all our old folders and stuff like that. And there's a folder called old scripts. And there's just so many of them. There's like some 10 folders within that with like half written, fully written, at a synopsis stage. Okay, this has a up to the first half. It doesn't have a second half. Like, dude, if you try to sit and finish all this itself, it's going to take us ages. But yeah, I mean, like, we call it that bird's eye view. At some point in time, me and Gayatri need to get that one aha moment where
This
we are seeing the whole story. I mean, like, we know this is the story. Once that happens, no, then everything falls into place. To get to that point takes us years. It's
luckily we're there now.
How many years have you guys been like working together?
Actually, from first year college.
from 95. So,
Oh, wow. So 30 years now. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we are very old people.
and we started in college together, and
Right.
we were doing some, we were in advertising at that point of time, right after college. Then we went to film school.
We applied together and we did
Right.
portfolios
And
together.
advertising also, you guys work together?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So,
See, pretty much. I think
yes,
first
from
year
college, we've been doing everything together. So it's
so
it's
there's
been a
no
long
two voices. basically.
Guys, we got to touch on the dynamic between Vikram and Priya, because I thought, there is this delicate dance between the personal dynamic and the professional dynamic between the two. Right. I mean, even there, I saw this kind of a line of demarcation, a little different than the line that Veda and Vikram keep talking about, but perhaps not entirely different. It's there's somewhat similar to that line. How did you guys see that relationship?
Actually, so Priya's character, though she doesn't have major screen time and all that, Priya's character gives the third perspective, like what I was mentioning earlier, right? In a way, Priya is the one who grounds him to a certain reality. If when Vikram gets carried away by his own moral uprightness, Veda is on one side deconstructing him, but on the other side, Priya is also telling, "Hey, you're not always right." That thing is there. So there's a simple conversation where now Priya is representing Veda, and Vikram tries to tell her that, hey, the department won't be okay with me being the investigative officer on the case and you being the lawyer defending that criminal. His implication is you should let that go. And Priya gives it right back to him saying, why don't you let it? Why is your job more important than my job? And Vikram actually can't understand this because he thinks that, hey, what is your job? You're just defending a criminal.
He actually thinks he's doing God's work. I mean, that's where he comes from.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not even about like his wife, lawyer, and him, man. I think more than that, he thinks his work is like more.
He has that
meaningful.
complex, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is where Priya's character comes from, where she says, you do your job, I do my job. It's not like your job is better than my job. You are ultimately you're going around killing people. So this is what pisses off Vikram also in that initial encounter. And then when they do make up, right? The solution is actually simple. I mean, like where they say like, okay, we won't talk about work inside the house and we leave everything outside. But then when they do need to talk about work, they step outside the house and talk. So the idea being that it's all great to think that you can live a life where work doesn't impede into your personal life. What you need to do is figure out a way to actually converse about it, talk about it, and be done with it rather than carrying this through for later. If you see from the initial conflict which happens in the first half, till the point where they reconcile, it's like a couple of weeks, like maybe a week or so, and they're not on talking terms at that during that 1 week. Now, this is, I think, something which is ridiculously common in most relationships, right? Where both the husband and wife stick on to a certain stance, and then it just keeps escalating. While the solution is not in trying to push it out of the door, which is what these guys said. No, let's not talk about it. We'll push it out of the door. The point is in to actually face it and deal with it rather than hiding it under the carpet.
Let's segue to the Hindi version now, and
Yeah.
I think we got to start with Ritik's casting. What made you see Ritik as Veda?
Actually, it went through a long journey to reach there. The
Okay.
idea of doing this in Hindi came up, and then it went through a bunch of different options because it was being mounted as a big project and stuff like that. But when Ritik did come in, so we had a meeting with him after he had seen the film, and we had the Hindi script also written. And
actually, he was one of the first few people to call us after the film's release.
like
he was actually very sweet. I mean, he found a number and he actually
like
called.
2 weeks after the film's release, we were in.
You were like, is it a joke? Somebody's like trying to pull a fast one on this kind.
you were at some event. Oh, we were in Delhi for my
right.
cousin's some family event. And randomly we get a call and it's Ritik, and he was very sweet about the whole thing. And
he was talking like, very normal. Okay, we grew up in the same school. No, Ritik is not the obvious choice for a role like this, which is a very gritty kind of thing. This is not something which he has done much before. But I think that's the reason why Ritik was also very keen on doing this, because he felt that this could be something which is away from his usual image, right? And Ritik, is at heart an actor who wants to try out a bunch of different stuff. It's that's what drives him. He's like super dedicated and he really, really gets into. I mean, he did that accent training for a long time. He actually bites into the character. I mean, literally. So if you see how he is interpreted the character and how Vijay is interpreted the character, it's like a whole lot different.
Very different.
That was our biggest pleasure in doing the Hindi version also. Same with Saif and Maddie. So they bring in their own personality, their take on the character. So that was actually for us, that was a fun part.
So we spent 5 days with Manoj, who was writing the dialogues for us. So it was like a script reading session with Ritik. This was just when he had said like, hey, let's do this kinds. And we were going through the script. And it was like fascinating because Ritik was having this kind of conversation, what you're asking us and what we are saying. So he wanted to go into the subtext of the character, things which are not on screen. Why is Veda thinking of it this way? Why is Vikram thinking of it that way? what would have been that one life incident which would have led him down this path? Things which are not needed in the story, you can say, hey, the character is this. No, he needed to know where this character is coming from. So in our heads, we kind of had the whole life of Vikram and Veda playing out in our heads. So we had answers to all that. But the big question was always what motivates Veda? What motivates Vikram is there on screen. What motivates Veda comes through way later when the plot is revealed. Only you know that. But how do you show that motivation on screen, but hide the fact of the motivation, right? So, I mean, like for most people would have seen it. The death of the brother being caused by Vikram is the first thing, and he's trying to figure that out. Now, he can't say it has to, but still play out in his eyes that there is an hurt, that there is a pain which he's hiding. So, if you see in the interrogation scene, there are shots which we just let linger on Ritik, where he was registering that pain. Like when he's playing the game with Vikram, you can see behind that facade of this manipulator, you see a pain. So that was the point which Ritik was trying to discover as he goes along with the character. And that for us is a hallmark of a really great actor. I mean, he wants to see what's behind. It's not about presenting a face. He knows as an actor, he's going to present the face of a character. He wants to see what's behind the second level of it. So that's
Actually, that process of working with both, I mean, Ritik and Saif, that was, see, that's what, like what you were saying earlier, they would ask us situations which are not in the script to get a deeper understanding of the character. So, in this kind of situation, how will Vikram react? In this kind of situation, how will Veda? How does Veda see the world? So, they have like a mental sketch, and actually, Ritik was there. I mean, it was done cool by once when we went to his caravan, he had this huge chart. So he had actually mapped his arc and like how his emotion plays out. Like during, okay, first story happens, and this time what happens, that time what, and it extends beyond the script.
it was
So
Wow.
that was like,
fun. I mean, like
okay, we were,
every
wow.
moment was plotted. And I mean, this is something which we do when we are writing. Like you write flashcards for scenes, and then you try to organize them, and it gives you the structure of the story. So we usually have now we don't we do it all on the form. But earlier we used to actually write out flashcards and stick it up onto a board, kind of thing. He had done the same kind of work for his character's development. What is that moment he's going?
Morning he'll go through that. So all that is like pretty.
And is it true that Shah Rukh was also attached to this project at some point?
There were talks with Shah Rukh, with Amir, both of them for quite some time, actually.
This is for
Then
Vikram or this is for Veda?
for Veda, for
For
Veda's
Veda.
character.
Okay.
Then finally circle back to Ritik, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like after the Tamil version released, there was a lot of excitement. I mean, like, I mean, this is only the list which is out there in the public domain. There were a
Right.
bunch of other actors also who had approached us or the producer saying, "Hey, I'll do that character." Okay.
Yeah. I can understand. Yeah. And the Kisi ke Muskurahaton pe ho Nisar action sequence. It's just a great choice of music, combined with characterization, but also star worship, because it probably, my guess is it's going to go down as one of Ritik's all-time iconic moments. It's a lovely scene. I mean, it's an action scene, but I really enjoyed that. It's massy, there's star worship in it, but it also talks about the character and that emotional side of that person, right? Like you said, like he is this manipulator and but behind that, there's also this emotional guy.
Actually, we wanted like an action sequence. We love action. Actually, we really like action. Wanted something unique. And this one is not like you have personal enmity with each of these guys, so doesn't make sense to like just go pummel because it is cut off at one level. So we thought it'll be like one fun way to do this. And actually,
so this it was not planned way ahead in or anything like that. So we were in Abu Dhabi. We were shooting some portions over there, and this was supposed to be shot over there. And there was a fight which was choreographed for this sequence. But at the end of it, it was an interesting fight. But it was an fight. That was it. So, and the shoot was, I think, 2 days away, something like that.
Yeah. Actually,
And
none of us were
none of us
fully
were like
about
completely
it.
the action director Parvez Bhai. So yes, it is there,
Some
but it is
magic
not
is
there. This is
missing.
not Veda. We had to come up with a solution pretty much quickly, or can that and do it later when we were shooting back in
I
India,
think when
kind
we
of
were
thing. This
driving
was
to the location or back or something, this
we
idea
went.
came.
Actually, what happened was we went to the location. The action choreographer showed us the whole choreography with his assistant, and we shot it and all that. And then we met up with Ritik and showed him the video of how it's going to play, and all of us are, no, it's not there. So it was that close to. This was early in the schedule. This was like, I think, literally the 7th or 8th day of shoot or something like that. Pretty early. No, actually, a little later, maybe about 10th, 15th day of shoot. So the idea was, okay, let's let this go, and we'll shoot this after we get back to India. It was COVID at that point of time, and we were shooting in Abu Dhabi because it was a safe space and stuff like that. Uh, then, when me and Gayatri were there coming back in the car, suddenly this idea strikes of, let's make it more stylized. Let's make it. It is not because what if you take the anger and the rage out of a fight, what you have is you want to see cool stuff. Cool stuff. People flying. One take Veda, the guy goes flying. And there is what we cracked at that point is there's a joy in Veda when he's doing this. If you see that sequence, no? Veda is actually enjoying that whole process of it. So when you convert that to music, something which gives you like, this is a safe space for me. This is a familiar space for me. So we were breaking our heads about the song, and Gayatri was checking on the net about all the songs which we have heard and which stuck in our head, and this one landed. And it was like, okay, this fits perfectly. And we immediately rushed to Ritik and said, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Ritik was super excited.
And apparently, this is a song he used to keep singing as a child. I mean, he was pretty fixated
Oh, wow,
on the
okay.
song, which we
So
came
we
to
didn't know that.
later.
So when we took it to him and we weren't sure if he would be familiar with it, I'm sure he would have heard it at some point of time. But we played the song to him and he sang the whole song through. And he said, like, so what are we going to do with this song? And we then tell him, like, so this is what is going to happen. Like, we're going to have super slow-mo shots of you hitting and people flying through the air. Duh. So this is what
It
you're
was
doing.
kind of like, this could fly or this could like really backfire. Like, dude, what are you guys doing? It's a fight sequence, it's an action sequence. But yeah, he also completely bit the bullet.
So overnight, Parvez Bhai figured out the new choreography. Actually, those flying shots are not easy to do because we had to set up rigs and stuff like that in that place where you could carry those. You couldn't take a big crane over there and all that. But overnight, Parvez Bhai figured out how to set up the rigs, and then we went with the DOP and figured out the shots and all that. And it turned out to be like a really, really
shoot also.
really easy shoot also, because we were playing the song, and when you're shooting in with a phantom camera at that high speeds, right, the action is actually action. That's all. The shot is over. Then when you play it back at that slow speed, and we had a boombox over there and we were playing the song, it was all looking so magical. The first shot we did was a test shot. It's like, okay, now this shot has to be there. Let's do more of this.
Actually, whole crew had
Yeah.
chill sequence to shoot.
Everybody wanted to fly. I mean, like our ADs wanted to put a rig on themselves and fly in slow motion on that.
That's a great scene. That's a great sequence. Now, Veda's backstory is a bit different in the Hindi version, right? Even his brother's backstory is also a bit different in the Hindi version. Was this something that you guys did to mix it up a bit for this particular version?
The bones are the same.
Okay.
Just that the treatment on that is slightly different. So he still has the same relationship, and there is this the younger brother being in awe of the elder brother, but he has to find a life of his own kind of thing, right? So those bones are the same. We just, I think, localized it to Lucknow more than anything else. And I guess that is the difference which you would see. I mean, the Tamil version had it very, very localized to Madras. And this one, actually, a lot of effort was taken into making it feel real in Lucknow rather than it being a
I mean,
generic.
the way people interact and speak, I mean, in Madras, within a certain society, it is very cool to be informal. Like, there's no formal respect as such. I mean, respect is there, but you just very casually address each other. So that was not ringing true with Lucknow as such. I mean, it has a little more formal way of, there's more respect and whatever. So that was the difference.
And the positioning of that character only in Tamil and Shatak and Hindi, right? So one of the things we decided was we'll make Shatak way more innocent in the Hindi version. In the Tamil version, there's a little more edge to him. But in the Hindi version, we wanted somebody who's an epitome of everything Veda is not. This guy is a good, sweet guy, kinds. So that I think was also based on our many trips to Lucknow to figure out places and how to set it up and spending time over there and the way people speak over there, the kind of respect which they have in the way they speak itself. All that kind of changed the way Shatak needs to be pitched because he was literally the only character whom we could show as being a good Lucknow boy. I mean, like Veda's a gangster. How do you?
So he goes at one step forward, not just he wants to do good for others. So that we thought, okay, we'll push it a little more. That's it.
The film definitely has a characteristic look. It's shot by P.S. Vinod, who of course has shot many other remarkable films. Were there any references for this kind of the kind of palette that you wanted to use or the kind of lighting you were looking for? What were the ideas discussed with him?
The story kind of informs, where what kind of choices you make. I mean, Vinod and we go back a long time and we're good friends also apart from it. So this one we wanted to have that black and white and gray. That was a space we were looking at. So if you see any frame, there will be like one full black and one full white at some spot. And so these like hard lines where what Vikram draws and this guy is trying to cross hatch between them. Veda is trying to cross hatch between them. So if you see the frame also, it'll be like pretty, like there'll be a lot of lines, like, either in the foreground, like you shoot through a grill or shoot through surfaces. So those lines and then that contrast and that black and white and gray kind of thing. So those were the things which I think, so with a lot of discussion with Vinod also, we came up with that.
So we generally don't pull out references from other films and stuff like that. In everything we have done, we never take color palettes and references from other films. I think it's also the relationship which you have with your DOP. We can actually speak to him and with Neerav also, who was the DOP on our earlier films. With Vinod and with Neerav, we can talk in very abstract terms. Like if we say the frames have to look a little graphic. Okay, so our understanding of what graphic means and what Vinod's understanding of graphic is exactly the same. So we don't need to sit and explain to each other what we meant by that. I mean, we meant that there needs to be lines which kind of determine the quality of the frame. So that's a graphic quality in our verbiage, and Vinod gets that. In fact, I don't think we have given him one movie reference or stills from the net as a reference at all.
I think that, but the common understanding, like, I mean, which is way more between us. Like, okay, we can just speak in shortcuts. Say, okay, that's about it. So that to a large extent it translates with
the discussion will be in terms of color palette. So we would have. You've seen these color palette sheets which paint companies issue, right? It'll have those little squares. And so this is not one of those fancy Adobe's color palette thing. This is what you can get at any hardware store anywhere in India, because that's a kind of paint which you're going to get. So I think we had a whole stack of that. Vinod also is like very familiar with it. Our art director, our production designer would have that. So when we determine a space, right? So it'll be basically looking at that to say what shade of gray, what shade of mushroom, what shade of yellow. We are going with this. So a lot of it was based on that kind of palette,
And
actual
we
palette.
like to push it also. So in the first introduction scene, so Vikram is in pure white. I mean, both the Hindi and the Tamil version. This guy is in like a dark gray, close to black kind of thing. And when Priya comes in, she's in a black and white sari. So she's a middle ground between these two people. So that is what it signifies. And if you see Vikram's costumes, no? So through the thing, from white, it will go to, it will slowly keep going to one shade of gray, one shade of, like one little shade of, and finally in the climax, both of them are kind of like charcoal gray.
Charcoal
So
gray. So
that's where they are.
So actually, in fact, this is what was one of our first conversations with Vinod about what we imagine the color palette to be. And literally that was enough. And with that, like he figured out what the palette should be. Um, Again, lensing was also one of those things which we talked about extensively in like how we are going to use a lot more wide shots, even for the mids and closes. Certain places where we absolutely needed to isolate the character, we have used long lens. But most of them would be 50 and below kind
You
of
need to
lenses.
see the space. I mean, space where they come from, why they are reacting here in a certain way. That also inform. I mean, the place also informs that. So a lot of whites would have been used even for the mix.
And what were the discussions with Sam like for the music?
So Sam also we have like a similar kind of.
You have a rapport
I mean,
with
it actually started with Vikram Vedha. That was the first project, film project we worked on. We worked on him for like I think a couple of ads before that or something like that. But this was and we really liked what he did in that. So when we started,
Initially, it was quite fun. And initially, like I mean, usually we try to get some tracks out before we start shooting, because say an action or an emotion, if you play that music in the set, no, like from the DOP to your actor to your juniors, everybody will know the rhythm and the tempo of the scene. So we like to do that. So in one of those things, he had like done something so grand.
So the main theme, the Vikram Vedha theme, right? This was a little before the shoot, and we wanted to have that theme to set the tone as such. So Sam brought us a composition which fell straight out of, say, something like Dawn of Justice. It was that guy. I mean, like, dude, for this, the world needs to explode. We need like aliens invading Earth. This is two guys fighting.
It was like way grander. And actually, he will do it with videos also. He'd bring it with a video also.
Yeah.
So
So Sam has an habit of taking some video from somewhere and then putting his music on top of that, so that people have a idea of like what it would feel like with visual. So he'll send us that. We never see the video. It is like, dude, we can't match up to those videos. Dude, we don't have the budget. Like it'll be from Interstellar or something like that. But
I think after that, the tempo, okay, this is where, I mean, we're kind of being real, but we're pushing it to this.
yeah, Sam, especially when we were doing the Hindi version, right? The template for the music was in place. But the amount of work which had to happen for the Hindi version was all over again, like literally building everything up from scratch, though the tunes are similar and all that. Because that was 2017, this is 2022. So music had changed. I mean, like the way we consume music had also changed, right? So, in fact, he had come down to Bombay at that point of time, and he spent like a month with us, just closeted in a studio. Every bell, every whistle sound which happens, especially the Hindi version of the interrogation scene with Ritik and Saif. If you see the music underneath, no, it's like really subtle, but there is one bit of foreshadowing which happens on that track, and this was all done little by little, little by little. Before the dialogue happens, he will layer in one bit of sound, which will have a payoff, like say a minute later. That's where the answer is, kind of thing.
One thing what we love about Sam, I mean, most music directors, I mean, doesn't apply to it. They are all kicked about songs, that's what will give them a glory. But Sam is like an RR guy, and he will get and for us, RR is super important. That really conveys like a huge, I mean, how much, like how visuals really communicate, no? That kind of thing, sound and music, RR has that thing. So that he really
Yeah.
delivered.
So Vishal Shekhar did the songs for the Hindi version, and Sam did the thing. So working with Vishal and Shekhar was also fun that way. I mean, like the songs had to be different. So we they had seen the film, and we told them, so this is what it is, and this is how it's going to be in the Hindi version. So the Alcoholia song went through a couple of revisions, and but this is what we landed up with. So yeah. I mean, like working with music makers is a separate skill set. No?
Yes, I can
It's
imagine.
not like working with a DOP or with an editor. It's a different beast.
Right. And guys, just to quickly touch on Sudal, I know we don't have time today to talk about the show in much more detail, but again, the allegory here is that of goddess Durga, right? The Mahishasur Mardini and Navroop, the nine avatars of the goddess. What I really liked about this show is that how the show is steeped in an Indian ethos, but it literally like plays like a solid Korean thriller. I got that same kind of vibes because of the rich atmosphere, the brisk space, the contrasting characters, and it's just a show that kind of meets genre expectations every step of the way. So I really like this show. Really briefly, if you could share with us, what was the genesis of the show story wise?
Actually, this was a story which was written long before Vikram Vedha. I mean, it was first started writing it as a feature.
Okay.
So then it expanded, and then we thought, okay, see, this actually can be better told in a long form format. It has so you can actually see. Otherwise, features have a few limitations. Like you need to kind of concentrate on your protagonist and then antagonist, and then like it has a structure. So this one you need to play with the place and the people, and so that was like, so we thought we'll just put it aside for now. One day all these guys, Netflix and Amazon and all, will come and we'll take it forward then. So it was one of those things which was there in our what did he say, old script kind of thing. So when Amazon approached us with that, then we pulled out this photo, and then there was something missing. Then we came across this festival. Then we thought, okay, fine, these two
Yeah.
together.
So actually, the festival came in a little later. I mean, so we had this the setup of the crime, and then we were somewhere, and this festival was happening at that point of time. So damn, the mythology fits, and this was actually as we were finishing Vikram Veda's writing. That interest in trying to marry contemporary story with a mythological element,
And
that
it's a
bug had
migrant
bitten us.
festival. Actually, we didn't realize there was such a festival in Tamil Nadu. Actually, that was our thing also. Been how come we are
Yeah,
here?
we are here and we didn't know about it. So a lot of research went into that. But I think at the core essence, there was this one idea which cracked on that, which kind of led to the whole writing on that. So there's a scene in the middle episode where Nandini, which is played by Aishwarya Rajesh, tells Sakra about the duality of perspective. So there's this boombox, and you shine a light from one direction, the shadow is a circle. But you shine a light from the other direction, the shadow is a square. So now, is this boombox a square or a circle? It is both. So that is the essence. That was the thesis of the thing. That
At the same time.
at the same time, it can be a rectangle and a circle. So that was the one which informed Sural as a series as such. That people can be this and that at the same time. Generally, we say like. I mean, it again goes back to what we speak about in Vikram Vedha, about
Right.
what is right and wrong, what is good and bad, and stuff like that. So breaking this idea of a bipolar world is something which keeps happening in our writing, even something which we are writing now. Because I don't know, somewhere it seems in the past 10, 12 years, we are seeing the world become
More and more
polarized into two extremes. It is not, there is no third voice.
But there's a
It is-
huge spectrum.
So I
Absolutely.
guess it's a reaction to that. And we don't believe in ideologies of both edges of this equation kind. There are certain things which are good here, certain things which are good there. But what is this thing where like the
You
world
need
is
to
going
make
back
this
to the
kind of that
1950s,
way, kind
60s where it is split into two ideologies? So yeah, I guess a lot of it is reactions to that.
Right. That makes sense. All right, guys. So finally, we're going to play a round of rapid fire questions. I call this a
Okay.
game. The name of the game is Shoot, where I'm going to ask you questions or give you a couple of options, and you quickly shoot back answers without thinking too much.
Okay.
So since we have two people, how do you want to do this? Like,
We
who
both
wants
will
to-
answer together.
Okay. All right.
Whoever gets an answer first.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. A film of last 5 years that blew you away.
Or from anywhere in the world, or
Yes,
are you
anywhere in the
speaking anywhere in the world?
Yes.
Tough question. Huh?
Could be last 10 years too. That's fine.
Actually, I mean, In Bruges is one film which we really, really love.
But I think that might be before that.
Before 10
Indonesia is
years.
before that.
I don't know why that popped up.
Yeah, I was also thinking of Dark Knight, but that is also again many years ago. Okay,
That's fine.
might not be an what you would call a filmmaker's answer, but we really liked the Avengers movie.
Okay.
So I think it's one of the greatest characters written, and the way Infinity Wars ends is just brilliant. And then leading up, the second film was okay, but we thought the ending on that was beyond brilliant. So yeah, it's
Avengers.
not a Khan Award winner. It is not.
Oh, no.
a
That's a
Sundance winner,
perfectly
but,
legit answer.
It's
And I mean, it has a huge, that whatever moral ambiguity that has
yeah.
a lot of depth.
Yes. Nikon or Iruvar?
Iruvar.
Yeah, Iruvar. Iruvar was,
Iruvar is an all-time favorite.
Okay.
I think we were in college at that point of time, and like that just blew our mind.
Yeah.
Great
The
film.
way that film is written and
Shot,
shot,
performed, everything.
it was-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And American screenwriter you admire?
Okay, tough questions.
Could be from any era, by the way. So,
Aaron Sorkin, definitely.
okay.
Yeah,
And
let's take Aaron Sorkin as actually, see, okay. We really like a bunch of Nolan films, but consistently, not necessarily. So
okay.
I guess the problem is that, I mean, there are a bunch of brilliant works, but is there one writer
I think, I mean, like we like to go by work rather than the artist, because artists anyway, like that is their thing. I mean, they need to give variations. Yeah, but the work is more important.
work is more important than the maker?
Okay. One genre you would love to explore?
Actually, a couple of them.
Science fiction is
Sci-fi
definitely
is-
Okay.
there's something which we are writing which
Yeah,
will
that
happen
was, like,
at some point of time. It's
Oh, nice.
super
That's
ambitious
exciting.
project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we won't do is a full-length romantic film, rom-com. That I don't think we'll ever be able to write.
Where is the drama? You can just sort it out. So
To be filed
but,
under one genre that you will not love to explore.
Ask a question and you can take this answer and put it there. But yeah, science fiction is something which we've been fascinated for a very long time. Like my earliest exposure to reading popular fiction has been Isaac Asimov and Carl Sagan and stuff from that. I'm talking about in the mid 80s when you go to these lending libraries and take those books and read, right? So Asimov's stories, especially for me, capture a reality which has already become true. It's but there is a philosophy behind that which I think still resonates.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, Orwell. Yeah. So yeah, we have something which probably in a few years we'll get.
Science fiction. Okay. One actor you would love to work with?
Actually, there's a whole bunch of them. See, like if given the opportunity, I think Rajinikanth, Kamal Hassan,
All in the same thing.
yeah, I mean, if you can get Rajni sir and Kamal sir together in a film, no, it means.
That should be pretty short order.
No, we think
both in the same.
both of them are great performers. I mean, and speaking, I mean, we are speaking this specifically from a Tamil perspective.
Right.
Both of them have a way of captivating you on screen. They're very different in that way, but both of them bring one strength to screen, which
and they're inherently competitive actors. So imagine pitting them against each other. It'd be like awesome.
Well, before I move on, let me ask you this. Do you think but it would be possible to have these two actors do something that really pushes the envelope? Like, that goes away from star worship and, and really kind of do something off kilter?
I don't think so. See, thing is, there's a huge expectation which rests on their shoulders.
Yeah.
We from the outside would love to see them in something which is very, very different.
Right.
But then we are such a minority in saying that because the large fan base which both of them or any of our big stars enjoy, right? To take them away from that would end up being a cheat for
That's true.
90%, 95% of their audience. Yes, as an actor, they might want to do something challenging, but they are stars. So, I mean, the kind of burden which is there on them is unimaginable to people like us. I mean, it's, see, we still have the freedom of saying like, hey, screw it, we can do whatever we want kinds. But at their position, the responsibilities are far greater.
Favorite SRK film?
Actually, Dar.
Okay.
I think that was a classic in some ways. Bazigar also.
Bazigar, actually, I was about to say Bazigar.
One film
There's something
that...
about
Sorry.
SRK playing a negative character, which is
absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
delicious.
I mean, like he can break bad really well.
Got the charm. Got the charm.
He really flies in that anti-hero kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I completely agree. One film that you would love to reimagine through a remake?
This is not instantaneous.
Yeah.
We are taking way too long.
No,
that's
I don't know. I don't think there's anything, a movie which...
I mean, if it's already so good, then why...
Yeah.
But would you be interested in making like remaking any of the classics or anything like that?
No, absolutely not. I mean, like, we wouldn't. I think see, for us, the decision to remake Vikram Vedha itself was a long and tough one. And for us, the reason was, hey, it gives us a chance to interpret it like how you would do a play. Like you take any of the Broadway's plays and you have different directors interpreting it at different points in time. So that was the kick for us. Like for us to reinterpret something which we have done. But to reinterpret something which somebody else has done is very, very difficult.
They've done a good job with it. So why? Yeah, we'll stay away from that.
Yeah. But books are fair game. I think there might be some novels which we have read.
Save that thought for a minute. One writing pro tip for young writers.
Do a lot of rewrites. I mean, don't think your first idea is great. Nobody's first idea is great, ever.
So we have a production company now, and we make shows for the networks, right? So one of the things which we keep, we give our feedback. There's feedback from the networks which come in and stuff like that. A lot of the young writers are very reluctant to do rewrites.
Why is that?
It'll get couched in the fact that, no, this is my vision. Dude, you've been living with this for 6 months. There is no vision yet. And if there's a rewrite needed, it needs to be done. I think the problem is also most people think like that this is the best version of that idea. The fact that there could be something more. So you go through a whole bunch of things, you come back to this and say, hey, no, this is still the best. No? We'll be the first people to agree. But that effort to see if there is another way of looking at this, uh, most people are afraid to do that.
I think it's harder to.
It's harder. It is definitely very
So
hard.
it is like it gets couched in my vision.
Because once you touch
Compromise.
something, you will have to touch everything. I mean, like if you try to change one scene, which means that if it's a well-written script, hundreds of things will have to change for changing that one scene. Otherwise, it's not a great script. So I think that fear is also there. But this, be ready for rewrites, and even before it comes to us or to anybody else, it should have gone through at least 5, 6 drafts before you know what is the story you're trying to say. For us, we discover it much later, like in the 5th, 10th draft only. It'll be like, so this is what the story was. Because stories eventually try to tell themselves. I mean, like, we are just the conduits for the story to kind of find fingers to type on a keyboard kinds. But even for the story itself, it takes a few writes before you get to what it is.
Okay. One directing pro tip for rookie directors.
Mark your script. So, see, this is pretty common in the West, but in India, right? Most directors don't have a clear breakdown on how they're going to stage a scene. So what we believe is in lining the script, which is what we learned in film school and stuff like that. For us, that is a better way of looking at a scene than seeing it shot by shot. So here it's a list of shots which you want to do. But a scene doesn't form that way. You might need to cover a certain bit in wide, certain things which you need to punch close up to, which are the bits which you need in movement, which are the bits which you want to come to a stop, or where do you want to start the movement from. This comes from lining the script. So if you see our script book, no, it'll be like lines, 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 lines. Okay, so this bit is covered by a long shot on a 50 lens, which is going to be on a track. This one is a static and it's at this lens. So in conversation with our DOP, we break this down to that before we go to shoot. So we know exactly what the next shot has
And
to
I
be.
think another really good tip would be to always be fast on your heel. Like, as it, see, like, I mean, you shouldn't see any shoot, no? Like, will come with a bunch of problems. Say, you had imagined a sunny day, like a sunrise. The sunrise shot never happens. You do a sunrise call sheet, out of 10, you'll probably not even get one. So, but you need to think, I mean, keep improvising, doing some stuff, and not, or like, say, like you needed a certain setting or you needed one thing. If something doesn't happen, you don't give up and say, oh, my vision is, I mean, compromised, and stuff like that. You need to improvise and get the ball rolling, get the magic rolling. No, because you are the captain of the ship. So you can't be sitting and moping that this didn't happen, that didn't happen. You know, or like some actor, some smaller actor was not able to. You need to figure out solutions. I think figuring out solutions is like, so as a director, you need to keep finding solutions and like moving forward and keeping the overall spirit of the entire crew depends on you. So I think you cannot afford to be moping. You need to find solutions and move forward, and you need to inspire everybody around.
Okay.
And magic happens when that when something goes wrong and you find a solution, you realize like, even if you had thought you wouldn't have come to this point, it's just because the situation kind of forced you to do something, and that turns out to be magic as you're seeing it play out on the screen.
Breaking Bad or The Wire?
The Wire.
The Wire is like our all-time favorite.
All time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That writing is fantastic.
Aranyakandam or Super Deluxe?
Aranyakandam.
One fiction book of last 25 years that you would recommend?
Okay, so I think essential reading, since we are talking about science fiction and even otherwise, I think the collected short stories of Isaac Asimov is absolutely essential, especially the ones which have to do with the 3 laws of robotics. So that it's there in various collections, but you can't go wrong with any collected short stories of Isaac Asimov. Then Atlas Shrugged is a book which we read when we were in school, which though we don't acknowledge it now, I think there is a large, lasting
think
influence
the
on
whole generation.
yeah, Fountainhead
has
and Atlas Shrugged. I think
Absolutely,
informed our
yeah.
generation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, George Orwell keeps. I mean, it's all
yeah, it's
about 20. Right? So
anything of late which we would say has to be read. We really love The Namesake by
actually,
Jhuppa
Dumpa Levy,
Yeah, that's a great book.
contemporary. Yeah,
Um,
we were trying to get the rights when we were in
when we were
grad school.
film school. But it is
Oh,
already-
really? This was before Miranda had made the film?
As soon as the book was released,
Oh,
we
okay.
were
We read
doing
the book.
a masters.
I mean,
Like we had no money, nothing.
it's not like we had money to buy the book, right? But we
Like,
called
sent
up.
some random mail and
Yeah, so the publisher's name is there in the book, right? So we were in the US only at that point. So we called up the publisher and they thought we were filmmakers or something. We were college students at that point. So there was an actual reply to it and they quoted, they said the rights have already been bought. I think,
see, the short story collection was also really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Forget the name of it. Yeah.
So, yeah, books. Actually,
I think our reading has also come down of late.
I think one thing is somewhere when you're in your teens and early 20s, that's when the reading culture is very, very important. I mean,
Right.
kind
right.
of
It shapes you.
at that
Yeah.
point.
It
Yeah,
shapes-
you.
and also like an intrinsic understanding of narrative flow. It comes only from that. Watching movies and watching series will give you a different perspective. But at the base level, what is storytelling will come from reading.
And actually, at that point of time, we were tripping on Nietzsche and all. Now, that's
Yeah.
too.
No, that
dark,
was,
too, yeah. You're too self-indulgent.
I mean, I think that is part of the growth cycle. I mean, like when we were in film school and just out of film school and all that, we used to obsessively follow what are the films which are being screened at Cannes and Berlin and Venice.
Right,
and,
right. You go through
those
that
films
phase,
will not-
yeah.
Yeah, it won't be available in India, and then you try to figure out how are you going to get a copy of it. Is it going to be shown at the Goa Film Festival or at the
Chennai.
Kerala Film Festival or the Chennai Film Festival? And you try to go there and all that. Now it is like, I don't even know what films were screened at Cannes. I know Jafar Panahi's film
it
one,
is-
which is a film which I want to see. I mean, because it's Jafar Panahi. But otherwise, okay.
All right. One movie that both of you can watch any number of times.
That we never do. I mean,
Hardly
like
do.
usually we like a film, we don't keep watching it.
Yeah.
I don't think we.
So there's actually very, very few films which we have seen more than once, maybe twice, times, unless it was for some specific research about how was a shot taken, well, like usually technical stuff or like some writing thing.
Otherwise, for us, that experience is done more. So then it's like a repeat experience. You love that film, so you don't repeat it.
We would still advise people to watch our film multiple times.
Certainly. Okay, finally, the last question. Adolescence or Shogun?
Actually, we like both.
We like both
we
a
like
lot.
both. Shogun was also superb.
But
Adolescence was
Between
also
this and
great.
that,
Actually, honestly, I like Shogun.
yeah, even I think
Yeah, I like Shogun. I mean, see, Adolescence is great, but it's one of things. But Shogun is like cinema.
there's
Shogun is
there's a
like
classical
writing.
storytelling to
So this is-
It's
Yeah.
grand, yeah.
And yeah, it's actually one of the things to mount a series or a film with that kind of scale and that kind of vision is getting more and more complex. I mean, shows like Adolescence, many of those shows can happen now. With the current structure, both in Hollywood and in India and all that, if you're doing something which is intimate and which is not going to cost a lot, you have a better chance of pulling it out. It's just now a question of what are the networks looking in terms of is the demographic right and stuff like that. But eventually those will happen. But to pull off something like a Shogun is going to become more and more and more difficult.
This is great. Like, so these are one of things, but that is like writing and like, overall filmmaking. That is,
Yeah. We just
Still,
finished
we just
seeing
saw Last of Us.
Last of Us last night. We just finished seeing that. We're still blown at like, man, they are able to mount something so well. I mean, each
Yeah,
one of those.
it's like completely you are pulled into that world. And Penguin was also great. Penguin was superb.
Yeah.
Daredevil was superb.
And I think we'll start watching Mobland now.
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't watched that either. Yeah.
I think the last episode is coming out in a couple of days. So
I think
we'll
a
wait till
lot
that comes out. And
Good writing is also happening in long form.
yeah,
So
long form.
actually, we keep saying, yeah, these are like shows which we really,
Yeah.
really like.
Did you guys watch The Studio?
Yes,
Loved it. I mean, we are huge Seth Rogen fans. We love.
Okay.
Like, where did you go? Where did you go? Kind of fans actually.
Actually,
Good fun.
Judd Apatow also. I mean, like
Absolutely.
we were. I mean, we have seen everything which he's done, and it's like, man,
Just go home.
we want to watch something by Judd Apatow. Just do something. It's your latest work. I mean, like, where's that easy watching experience anymore?
Lot
I
of
mean,
fun.
we don't make films like that. He would still want like very involved viewers and people who can figure out the metaphor of it and all that. But sometimes you just want to see a Judd Apatow
Yeah,
film.
Studio was great, and it was beautifully shot. Also, I mean, it was not just like it was like well mounted show.
And it was
That is
emotional. That whole Emmy Awards thing, right? Where does the studio head get that recognition, Golden Globes, get the name spoken on stage and all? Super.
Yeah, that episode of the doctors,
Oh, that was
amazing. Super.
Great
The
show.
doctors conference and
Yeah. I also do something important. No, I'm just making movies. They're doctors saving lives.
Are you guys Larry David fans, by the way?
Not too much, but
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think comedy is a very, very difficult thing to pull off. I mean, like, because it either works or it doesn't work. Even studio, I'm sure it'll work for a bunch of people. For a whole bunch of people, it won't work. I mean, because if you're vaguely connected with cinema, it'll work like wonders.
Great. Yeah.
But we still don't know how non-film people will react to a show like
I mean, we
this.
can get all the stereotypes and how people react and all that. Yeah, I don't know how the common people.
Well, guys, thank you so much. This was great fun.
Hey,
And,
no problem at all. Lovely chatting with you, Himanshu.
Thank you so much.
Super fun.
If you liked the episode, do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content like this. You can find the link for supporting the show in the show notes and on the pod website. Also, do share this episode on Twitter, Insta, or Facebook. And do subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen to your pods. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. Feel free to reach out there or by email with your comments, feedback, and suggestions. You can find my email in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu signing off. And as always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.